What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Speaking Nerd podcast, where we talk about all things nerdy. And today we are kind of taking it down a little bit, and we're going to talk about some not so great news that just hit the internet a couple days ago. Um, I mean, there's no real easy way to say this, but the popular YouTuber Comicstorian has just unfortunately passed away, and it was a shock to everybody. I'm sure whoever's watching this was just as shocked as everybody else was. And it's a tragedy, obviously, of course. And we just wanted to kind of take today's episode to remember Comic Historian and to talk about him, his legacy, what he meant to us, and go over some memories that we've had. Yeah.
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 Yeah, what a way to I mean, I had different plans for this episode. This is episode 125 and
Yeah. We had much different.
originally yeah. Originally we were just going to talk about the Arkham games cuz we've kind of dabbled with it in the past, but ever since this news broke and most of us here have a huge, respect and have been following Benny for for years. I just kind of felt it was appropriate that we take a minute to kind of reminisce on a legend in the comic book YouTube space and just kind of give our thoughts, like you said, talk about our memories and some of our favorite videos from the man himself. I'm already getting choked up. So,
And also
um,
just how um how he really did create a space for us. Like I mean I can't speak for everyone, but I don't think I don't think I would have gone to uh YouTube in the way I did if not for Comicstorian.
mhm, yeah. I think was it you that told us that like he was one of your major influences when it came to starting a YouTube channel,
Yeah,
or at
he
least.
was a big influence with how I approach like kind of the whole um internet personality thing,
Mhm,
and also in like talking about comic books online,
mhm,
because um that was one of the very first channels I'd ever watched on YouTube that was just like, solely focused on talking about comics. And I always heard criticisms about how stuff like Comicstorian was like made to replace um reading comics, but I never really got that because when he would when he would do his videos, it was the stuff I was reading, so it only added to the experience. Uh, you know, the like utter production quality on those videos. Especially, I remember watching the Dark Knight's Metal videos. I don't know why those like specifically come to mind, but
mhm.
I remember those really vividly. Um, because I was getting those uh at the comic shop during that time, and also it was obviously when those comics were coming out. It was the very heavy time, so
Mhm.
it was a really great way to spend my time.
Yeah, yeah, his channel was just to me, I mean, I've seen that same thing too, where it's just like that him being the kind of replacement for like actually picking up comics. For me, it was never like that. For me, it was more so about like when I saw his videos and him talking about some new books that had come out, some huge event. To me, it was just a way of seeing what was current at the time, and just kind of nudging me in the right direction, being like, "Hey, yeah, go by your local comic book store, pick up, these amazing stories, and get
Yeah,
yeah
I've seen his
immersed into the
videos
world that the
always
setting
like
is in."
an encouragement to,
Hmm.
you know, get into comics and that and basically um erasing the gap between non-comic book readers and comic books.
Yeah.
Uh because there is a certain level of like apprehension that you hear from a lot of people who want to get into comic books, and I think that uh, Benny kind of just uh, I mean he did absolutely all he could to um, get rid of that
Hmm.
through his videos.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it was just like I said in our group chat, it's like without Benny primarily, I probably would have never dedicated myself to going to a comic book store and actually, buying comics and, right off the shelves. Um, in some of our intensive treatment episodes, I talked about uh, how the Arkham games kind of got me into the character of Batman, but without Benny, I wouldn't really get to experience stuff like, the whatever's happening in Avengers, Secret Wars was a huge event that I got
Yeah,
engrossed in, and a bunch of
watching
that stuff.
watching his videos was a big influence on me actually like getting invested in finding a local comic shop
Mhm.
and and also getting into modern comics because I had read plenty of comics by that point, but it was mostly like used and like older comics. So I
Mhm.
had never really like gotten interested in what was going on in the current moment until until I was watching stuff like Comicstorian that showed me the like how truly interesting and exciting was the comics that were coming out
Mhm.
at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, perfectly said. Um, Something I wanted to ask each of you before we went on our little spiel there. Um, uh, what was your guys' first reaction to the news dropping? Where were you? How did you feel about it? I know we're all distraught about it, but it just you know, certain people, like we talked about this in the Kevin Conroy episode, we all kind of handled it differently in our own ways. So I'm just curious what it was like in that moment where, you know, you just kind of found out about this from it dropping on the internet.
I'll,
Who
I'll
wants to go
talk so
first?
someone else will.
Yeah, okay.
This is my first time speaking this episode. It's kind of a blessing. But anyways, um, so it was just an Instagram news post I saw. Someone posted it, I think, like an hour after the news came out, which it was Benny's wife dropped it on Twitter and on his community tab. Those were the two places I saw it. And basically, I mean, yeah, I saw the post, and it was kind of just I had to take a second to kind of soak it in because Comicstorian, he's like one of the comic channels. Back in the day, it was like Variant Comics, Comicstorian, Emergency Awesome, so many different channels
Hmm.
that were out that really dominated that
Mhm.
space in the early 2010s YouTube, like prime YouTube.
Hmm.
And Comicstorian, he was always one of those channels that would always basically dominate it. And as someone who grew up with that era of YouTube, specifically comic YouTube, I watched his videos very frequently. I didn't as much whenever I was, older, just because I preferred to seek the comics out. And I'm not saying that I'm contributing to the argument that he doesn't drive comic sales, because I have friends who that the opposite has happened. They watch Comicstorian and they go buy a comic because of him. But I
Hmm.
digress. So I see the news, um, and it just it took me just by surprise, for lack of a better term. And yeah, I mean, I remember I sent it to one of my closest friends, Adrian, because he was big on Comicstorian back in the day. Like I think he still to this day would watch Comicstorian. He's
Hmm.
huge on him. And I remember I sent him the text, and bro was like on verge of tears. Like it was it was definitely not something I that was on my 2024 bucket list for sure.
Yeah, no,
And it just
absolutely
I
not.
don't know, just kind of took this whole community by uh by surprise again, for lack of a better term, because I can't really think right now. So my
Hmm.
apologies, but it's just extremely unfortunate situation, because even the cause of his death is still unknown. And you know obviously his family wants privacy, which is to be expected with these types of things, and I wouldn't
Hmm.
expect anything else. So yeah, it's just rough, especially because he uploaded the day before he died. Like that's really where you kind of taken aback, and you kind of have to think to yourself, like, we're not promised tomorrow.
Hmm.
Because I doubt him uploading that video in his mind. I doubt he thought, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna get in a car accident and die tomorrow." You know what I mean?
No, yeah, no.
He
So,
he had a lot of
uh,
plans.
right. And well, something I kind of want to discuss is the future of his channel, because I believe his wife said in the post she plans to continue Comicstorian in his honor.
Yeah.
So I mean, like,
Yeah.
it's not like this is the end of that channel, but in a way, it might be, just because he's not he was the soul of it, and he was the soul of a lot to oh god, I'm kind of crumbling all over my words, but it's kind of he was kind of the backbone of comic book YouTube. He's
Hmm.
one of the biggest, if not the biggest creator in this space. He's created
He was
so many
yeah,
careers, helped so many people.
he was most definitely the heart of that side of YouTube,
Well, he was
and
like I
more.
like I said, he was one of the main big ones, and I think he got to a point where he became the biggest one,
Yeah, because I'm trying to
and
remember
still is.
back in that. I'm trying to think back to that point in time, and I think by that point, uh, it was like him, Variant Combo Cast. Those were like the true like they really kickstarted that side of YouTube, and then of course you had other people come in, uh, Comic Pop, Comics Explained, uh, Comics
Comic
all
Drake.
that just kind of follow through. Comic Drake, yeah, like so yeah, he really was such an influential person in that
And
space, and
think I think even to people who maybe are into comic book YouTube or comic books and whatnot, like they're part of that side of YouTube, but they didn't watch his channel, like they didn't grow up on him or weren't fans of
mhm,
him. I feel like even they can still feel his, his impact, because he did make a lasting one on the community.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And yeah,
AJ.
there's
Um, I was I had a similar reaction to I saw this one reply to the tweet from Benny's wife, that just said, I hope and pray that this is like a practical joke by somebody, or like the account got hacked. I don't know.
Hmm.
It's like, I was just in complete and utter disbelief, because I had actually gotten back into the channel recently, last year when they did like a channel update. I just clicked on the video, and he had so many plans. Um, there was a lot shifting over at their channel. Um, a lot of change, and sizing down and everything. And I was I couldn't believe it, because for as long as I can remember, the one channel that was like consistently there, uh, ever since I got into YouTube, and since I started making YouTube videos, Comicstorian was there,
Hmm.
and a huge influence on type of videos that I make. Um, so I really couldn't believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. Swifty, I know that, you don't really have the experience, and, the, the Benny wasn't much of a presence in your world as compared to ours.
No.
Do you want to tell us where you were at the time, or how you felt about the whole situation? Or
I mean, like you said, he wasn't as big of a part in my comic book journey, but I still knew who he was, and I had watched his videos from time to time, and I thought he was an entertaining content creator and really good at what he did. And
Mhm.
I think I was at home the other day, and I got the text from you guys. Um, but I had seen on Instagram another post that he had passed away, and then I was like, oh, when you guys sent it to the chat, I was like, oh, this is real. This is not like fake. This is serious. I thought it was terrible. I mean, he was so young and had a lot to give, a lot more to give. Um, and he helped so many people, and he always seemed like a super positive person, and that he was doing his best to create the best content he could because he loved his community. Um, so it's such a terrible thing. It's terrible when anyone passes away, and it's terrible when it's in some kind of accident like this that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that right now.
yeah. I think for me, I was at home myself, and it was through the group chat as well where I found out. I saw the post, and then I went on Twitter and I read the full explanation that his wife put out. And I was somebody who like kind of fell off Comicstorian for a few years. Like every once in a while, like check in and see what they were up to as far as like the stories he was putting out, or like like podcasts he had started up. But for the most part, I wasn't as consistent as I was from when his channel started till about, I want to say, like 2017, 2018. Um, the thing that killed me more than anything was a few days beforehand. Like I stumbled upon one of his older videos. I think it was like his Avengers versus X-Men video. Watched the whole thing, loved that. Watched a couple more of his videos, and I'm like, man, he's still really going strong. And then that that part broke me. It was just like, man, it's just crazy. Like these things just
Because
happening out of the blue, and
you could just watch that video, and then uh, just the next day.
it's just so sudden.
Yeah.
Terrible. But yeah, I for the rest of that day, I was just kind of going through his channel, watching some of my favorite videos he had, some podcasts that he was a part of, like the Weekly Poll, and some guest spots on um, I remember I used to watch Comics Explained. He had a live show called Comics and Coffee, and there's a whole episode of him and Rob just kind of going through and doing a Q&A and all this other thing. So I just had that readily available. I was just listening to the two of them have fun, laugh, and all that sort of deal. And so I'm still trying, like processing this. Like I know it's been almost a week now, and yeah, like that. It's just so hard to believe. Like it's just like you said, it's just out of nowhere, so sudden,
It's
and
just
it's just
ridiculous.
insane to me. But um, do you guys remember the first Comicstorian video you watch, or at least your way of experiencing Benny for the first time?
I don't remember, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
that's fine.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna think about it
that's
and
fine.
while you
Yeah.
guys are talking.
Mine was his Superior Spider-Man video. Him going through that first Dan
Oh yeah.
Slott run, like the first 31 issues, I think. So I remember at that time I was trying to figure out what the deal was. Like I remember the whole news controversy of his death, and then seeing some headline of like him bringing Peter Parker back. I'm like, I wonder what happens for that. I wonder what caused that. And then Benny just out of nowhere came from the heavens, and he was just like, "Here, watch this video. It explains pretty much everything." So, and then after that, it was just like nonstop watching his videos every week and seeing what kind of stories he put out from. It was mainly like Marvel DC stuff, but like he had like I think he had some other like Image Comics and Dark Horse stuff he also did on the side. So, what about you, Alter?
So it's hard to remember exactly what what the first video of his I saw. Believe the earliest I can remember is when he was talking about a lot of the New 52 Batman stuff, Scott Snyder.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, a lot of that stuff was probably the first, 'cause that's what I was into at the time. It was the new Batman stuff at the time, and it was good stuff too. Scott Snyder's Batman run is incredible.
Oh yeah, it's
But
amazing.
so I was into that at the time, just as a kid reading that. I thought the Court of Owls was the coolest thing ever when I was like, I don't even know how old I was, like 7. But but yeah, I
I gotta
watched
keep
Comicstorian all
remembering
the
that
way
I'm a
back
lot
then.
older than you guys are. So.
Shut up, prick. But yeah, we
All right.
I was 7.
we dude, I was young as hell watching like variant comics back in the day. But yeah, I was like I was like 7 years old watching Comicstorian talk about Scott Snyder Batman, which I believe was the first. I think I've heard of his channel before then, but that was the first time I ever got into his channel really. But I
Yeah.
also remember a lot of his stuff on like Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, all the Deadpool Kills series,
Oh yeah.
and also Injustice was a big one. I watched all his Injustice explain for the comic, like where he talked about the Injustice comics.
All
Um,
right. Yeah.
because I loved that game at the time. Again, another thing I was obsessed with when I was like 7. So I watched him explain, the comics and the backstory behind that, and what else? I mean, obviously, I feel like everyone's seen his Ultimate Spider-Man videos. That's kind of just a
Yep.
staple of his. So I remember watching those as well. And that's all I can think of right now when it comes to just standout videos and when I first got into them.
Absolutely. AJ.
It's so far back, but I think um I have a few different ones that come to mind. The complete uh the Flashpoint um
Yeah.
when he did Flashpoint, I remember that really vividly, as well as when he was doing like Know Your Universe with the Green Lantern Spectrum. Plus, for some reason, I always had his Batman Hush stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that immediately come to mind.
Do you guys have a favorite video of his? Any one of them that just kind of sticks
I
out? And
I think one of my favorites is like his, you know, his videos when he would like do like a full like timeline thing and he would explain everything, like the 2.5 hour ones.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love the Absolute Carnage one. That's like one of my favorites.
I mean, as I said earlier, I really loved uh his Dark Knight's Metal video
Hmm.
because I mean like all the videos that were associated with that because I think he told that story really well.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, it was, and it was it, and I just have really vivid memories with that, and um, it just calls back to some really good times where I was really excited about comics.
Absolutely. What about you, Walter? Do you have a favorite video in mind? Even if it's like the Scott Snyder stuff, or
There is either going to be the Scott Snyder stuff, especially when he got
yeah,
really into death of the family. That I remember being really I really liked his video on that, just the way he
yeah,
emphasized the story. And also just I have a lot of nostalgia towards the Deadpool kills, the Marvel Universe explained. Um, Again, just another book that I loved when I was young. So obviously I tried finding as much content for it as possible, and I remember his was just like just captivating. I don't know how else to say it. So
hmm,
definitely either Death of the Family or the Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe.
yeah. One of my personal favorites, and one of the videos I immediately thought of hearing his passing, and it's something that AJ kind of alluded to earlier. Um, he had a series of videos called Know Your Universe, and like AJ mentioned, he had a whole series of videos talking about the whole lantern spectrum. His video on the Blue Lantern is one of the most depressing videos that he's probably ever done, but also one of the most greatest things he's ever put out, I think.
Yeah, that's a big part of why I really loved those videos. It was like it was the personality that he brought to it.
Yeah. Yeah, just such an amazing video, and if you guys have not seen it already, please do so because it is peak quality
It
and
was
and a real
all
good showcase of what he could really do with his platform. So,
well, yeah. I mean, with everything that with I mean with what happened, I think it's all the more reason to
mhm.
revisit uh, so many of his videos.
So I think next we should talk about his place. I mean, we kind of delved into it a little bit earlier, but kind of his place in the comic YouTube space, especially when, because like we said, he was a true pioneer. Like I think back to that early era, and you had stuff like Comic Book Cast, and I think Variant was like started shortly before or shortly after
Well, yeah.
Vinny did.
Um, Variant. Well, he came from uh, the DC, like the main DC channel. And then he made Variant alongside
Mhm.
that. So it's slightly more complicated startup for him
Yeah.
than Comicstorian, who kind of just had to do his own thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And also, I think Benny just did it in such a way where, like, he just blew everybody out of the water. Because I think back to like early comic book cast, and I find those videos more annoying than anything. Because they're going through the story, they're showing the panels and stuff, but it's just them kind of dicking around, like talking to each other, not like maybe slightly going into what's happening. But Benny was just like, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
give you the
those.
story as is, and just
You want
explain it
the
to the
real
best of my
annoying comic
ability.
book cast? The real annoying comic book cast is their second channel where they clickbait news 24/7.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what really became annoying. But I digress. This is not the comic book cast hate video. That's actually episode 126. 125, we're talking about Comicstorian.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean I
The
think the appeal of Comicstorian was the quality of his videos.
hmm
That he was all about, just displaying the comic in its most perfectly distilled form. Um, and like breathing life into the words and the uh the pages of these comics, and
yeah.
basically reminding all of us uh, that this is why we're nerds in the first place.
hmm Yeah, I just like yeah, just thinking back to that area, and we had other creators which I liked a lot, like Comic Pop and Comics Explained, especially. Like they had their takes on doing like explaining these stories, talking about them. But I mean, even with all that, Benny was just on a whole different level. Like the production values, especially, even more so when he actually had a team. Like when he got
Yeah,
people to, work on his videos when it was not just him. Like it really just kind of skyrocketed. And
and it was only getting better with
yeah,
time.
yeah, and even like besides the comic stuff, we had other venues like Eligible Monster was his gaming channel.
Mm.
That was great. He'd stream on Twitch, and I think for me, honestly, another huge part of Benny that I really liked was he was not only a pioneer for comic books, like comic book YouTube, but also podcasts, I think too.
Absolutely. Um, I mean, like that man was built for podcasts.
Yeah. Like I remember tuning in every week to the weekly poll, and it was just I think uh part of that influenced this channel, like influenced the Speaking Nerd podcast.
Now we're
It
making the
had a huge
speaking.
hand in it. So yeah, he there's no there's no other words to describe Benny other than he is an amazing individual who had a huge heart, especially for the people around him. He cared so much about his friends and also his following. He really had a passion for his fans, and um, like the other day, I was just scrolling through, seeing everybody talking about the news and whatnot, and they were sharing pictures and telling stories and about seeing Benny or interacting with Benny in a way, and you know, it just kind of
He
it just
truly
warmed my
impacted
heart. Yeah,
so many people.
he was definitely a people person, and uh, I wish I'd gotten the chance to meet him just to see that kind of manic, happy energy he brought everywhere with him. So, um, yeah, and I mean, as I said earlier, I was somebody who kind of fell off after like 2018 at the latest. So, um, it's not that like it's not that I like hated his content or whatnot. I was just kind of interested in other content creators at the time. And even then, like I'd come back every once in a while to see what he was putting out. And he did do some really like great stuff.
especially the podcast stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, there was one podcast that I really enjoyed with it was him and Rob. Him and Rob had a podcast together. I think it was called like R&B or something like that. Um that was great. He had another one with Sal Absolute Comics that was called. Those were great to
I,
watch. So,
I loved Absolute Comics.
yeah. So, he was just great at everything he did. He really took the time to, care meticulously about what he was putting out. He wasn't half-assing anything like certain other creators. Comocast. But he was just a very hardworking individual, and it showed. It really did show. So I know that Alter kind of brought this up earlier, but what do we think is going to happen? Like if Natalie, his wife, is saying that they're still going to continue the channel, it's like, what do you do at that point?
It's just there's no way it's going to be what it was
No, no,
because Comicstorian is Benny.
yeah,
But I do think they're gonna honor him well. And I'm curious how they do that.
yeah, yeah. You're right. It's just there's nothing that could ever like replace Benny. Benny was Benny, no matter whether it was Comicstorian or other avenues that he was into, other channels. Like Benny was the guy, and I mean,
I'm hoping,
if they're gonna continue, like if they're gonna continue that channel, it's gonna be a really hard act to follow. I guess they could always bring in Dan, who's done one of his editors, who's done certain full stories in the past and whatnot. But
I'm hoping they bring in uh his collaborators from like the surrounding channels.
mhm,
Um, because I think they'll know best
yeah,
what to do with that.
yeah. Is there anything I'm missing as far as talking points? Is there anything that you guys want to mention?
Not me.
No.
No.
I don't know what else there is
I
to
think
say that has
I
been
think
said.
we've nailed everything.
Okay.
I mean, without short of breaking down.
So I guess we'll just go into our our final words, um, and then we'll just call it a video. Then, yeah, I have a huge amount of respect for what he did and what he brought to the table as far as nerd culture. Because I mean, at that point, we were still like in the peak of like the MCU at that point, so people were kind of interested in nerd things. But I think uh, I think Benny and all them, especially Benny, really brought that to the forefront, and
Yeah, I mean,
showed
really paved the way.
yeah, just really brought that and showed outsiders to our community that comic books are cool and comic books are actually really interesting, and there's a lot of unique stories to tell. And, you know, he did a huge service to that, and I can't thank him enough for what he's done.
So
Do you guys have any words you want to say before we leave?
I hope that his legacy continues on in the best way possible. And yeah,
Well, yeah. Alter?
Oh, what Swifty said, I guess. I don't know. There's not really much else you can really add to the whole conversation because,
Yeah.
I mean,
I pretty much said it
what
all.
else is there to say that hasn't been said? It's just,
Hmm.
unfortunate situation. I just hope that, I hope, everyone involved with this content, makes the best decisions for the future of it. And I hope, his legacy continues to live on. And I hope, obviously, the friends, family, fans, whatever, I hope they're, well during these hard times, and
Hmm.
just hope for the best.
Yeah. Did you say your final piece, AJ?
I think, I mean, just reiterate
Hmm.
everything that Alter already said, but I think that we can honor Benny going forward by making Speaking Nerd podcasts the best comic podcasts there can be, and you know, trying to do 5% of what he did day in day out,
Hmm.
showing that comic books are um, one of the most powerful art forms in the world.
And I think with that, we're going to call it an episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I know it's been a bit since we've put out anything on this channel. I mean, we did that live stream not too long ago, but as far as actual videos and stuff, um, we've all been, busy with our own things, and so hopefully soon we can, get back and talk about topics and news for comic book related things, and also just nerd culture in general. So, does anybody have anything to plug? Like, are you guys working on anything in particular? Anything you want to share?
Um,
you can go
I
check
want.
out. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you go. You go.
I was just gonna say you can check out the intensive treatment podcast that Marvel and I do over on the intensive treatment channel. We're having a lot of fun. We just hit 50 episodes, and 52 is coming out on Friday. I don't know when this is coming out, but
This is probably Friday. Yeah, this video will
and
be
it's
out
out
Friday.
today. So watch it, babes.
Yeah, it's a really it's a weird episode, but it's a fun one.
Isn't it the
Alter's gonna be mad
isn't the
that he wasn't in
Arkham Smasher Pass?
it.
Yes,
Yes, it is.
yes.
I wasn't invited.
That's why we did it. We knew you were gonna say that. We're gonna do a part 2, don't worry.
Well, yeah, we'll probably do a
Trust
part
me.
2. So
Trust me.
you're more
If
you're more than
if
welcome to
Episode
join us for that.
69. Come on, I'll get Axel Braun on it too. We'll have us
Yeah,
have a
dude.
whole.
We might do that just for shits and giggles. I mean, we already did a porn episode for Speaking Nerds,
True.
69. So
And
yeah,
and what's the most viewed video? You're welcome, fellas.
yeah.
Thank you.
You have anything to plug, Alter? Or I guess
Mm.
AJ was gonna.
I have I have a video coming Friday, talking about first-person shooter games, which I'm pretty excited by that video.
Okay. Okay, Alter, you go.
I'm working on content. I don't know, personal stuff's been getting in the way of me finishing this video, but I'm gonna start with a clean slate and we'll see how the channel goes from there. But yeah, the future's looking bright. It's just the bright light is 70 miles away.
Ain't that true?
Yeah.
So as far as my side of things, I don't know if it was at that time, like when we did the Joker commentary and stuff, but we reached over 250 subscribers, and it's still going. Like I think now we're at 286, which is amazing. Um, uh, I have a couple videos that I've been meaning to release for a while, but some things have just kind of gotten in the way, uh, like me being sick and some other matters I won't get into right now. But I'm hoping that here soon I'm going to try and get back into the swing of things and put some content out. I have some stuff planned for the summer, so hopefully we can get to that. And yeah, the rest of the year is kind of looking good for this channel, I'd say. So
Mhm.
we'll try and also do the same for Speaking Nerd. We'll find some sort of schedule to get ourselves on, and keep releasing episodes. We'll get to our next
Everyone
milestone
at
here
Axel
soon.
Braun, tell him to respond to my email.
Yeah, we're trying to get, or at least Alter's trying to get an Axel Braun themed episode.
Who's this we?
So
It is me.
that's why I was almost gonna say we, and then I was like, no, it's more so him. So yeah, he's trying to get Axel Braun for an episode. So at Axel Braun, email him if he has any emails that he still replies to.
Anybody has
Get
his, if
into
anybody
some
has
sort of
his personal
contact. Yeah,
phone, his
yeah,
Telegram.
call him up, text him. So
Does anyone know his address?
and we'll make
I'll drive to him.
we'll make porn parodies too. If he agrees to it, then we'll definitely make a second porn video.
Let's
Which I don't know
go.
how
Never
I
word
don't
it
know
like
how
that
you're
again.
gonna. And then after that, we'll make an official Speaking Nerd porno.
Oh my god.
Directed by him.
Yeah, bring him out of
Who
retirement.
plays me?
I don't know.
Is it a gay
We gotta do a
porn or
casting
straight?
call.
We
Is
should.
Is it women?
Danny DeVito plays Alter.
When we if we ever do that episode and he's there with us, should we ask him like who he'd cast for
Oh
Speaking
my
Nerd
god,
porno?
that's the reason we have him on, fellas. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I'd
Be
better
honest,
get Johnny
Axel.
Sins.
Who am I?
Who's gonna get Johnny Sins, and why is it me?
Okay, she sends it.
Anyway, everyone, have a great night. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and take care of yourselves. So, see you next time.